Yeah, I want to talk about, well, really whatever you want to talk about as well. If there's anything new projects that you have coming out that you want out there a little more. Mainly, I want to talk about Kenobi and
Yeah.
just your original ideas and how it was supposed to be possibly a movie, and then it changed and went into the hands of other people. And yeah,
Yeah. So look, so for me, I was 6 when I saw Star Wars, fell in love with it. It's why I wanted to be a filmmaker and, started the whole journey for me.
yeah,
So it was very, very, very close to my heart. So I had started I think they'd started the new trilogy, but I had basically we had obviously Ewan doing that incredible performance in the prequel trilogy.
yeah,
And so to me, it was when Disney took over, the obvious thing, when Lucasfilm went to Disney, the obvious thing for me was, okay, well, they're probably going to do an Obi-Wan movie because that's the one everyone wants.
right,
But I wasn't hearing anything about who was doing it and what was happening. I just started coming up with my own ideas for it, and then went up to Lucasfilm and pitched them. And that's really what got the ball rolling because they actually weren't planning on doing it. Um, they were they're busy with Rogue One and Han Solo and all these other things. So it was really a matter of convincing them that there was a story there worthy to tell. And they did ask me in that meeting, is it a movie or is it a show? And
yeah,
I just felt, yeah, no, it's a movie. It's 3 movies I had planned for him because I felt there were 3 different evolutions of his character. Um, going from uh, basically Obi-Wan Kenobi to Ben. That
yeah,
there's 19 years there, and it's not just 19 years of a guy sitting in a desert. There's
no, yeah,
fundamentally different characters. There's Jedi Master, Clone Wars General, jump into the middle of the fray, say hello there, and get fighting, right?
yeah,
To this really reluctant shell of a person, waiting to be called to adventure.
yeah,
So that was always fascinating to me. I just felt that the evolution of Obi-Wan to Ben was something that was really worth exploring, and that was really the basis of my pitch. But the thing that really hooked them, I think, in that meeting was when I said, and he has to have met Darth Vader in this
yeah,
time, and they were like,
yeah,
no, no, it's impossible, it's possible. I said, no, it's actually a fact,
yeah,
and I can prove it. And they were
yeah,
like, how?
yeah,
And so I said, well, you look at Return of the Jedi, and you look at the scene where Luke gives himself up to Vader, and he says, I still believe there's good in you, Father. And I said, and Vader replies, Obi-Wan once thought the same as you.
yeah,
And I was like, when did that happen? Because
yeah,
it certainly didn't happen in Revenge of the Sith.
yeah.
And it certainly didn't happen in A New Hope. So it must have happened in between. And they were like, oh my God, you're right, you're right. And so that's what really started the whole ball
That
roll.
was that was the opener. See, when I
Yeah.
watched that as a kid, I was always like, oh, well, he probably just in Revenge of the Sith, he probably thought that he could turn him, but he didn't. But we never really actually saw them. You're right. And that's always a kind of a qualm I had with Revenge of the Sith was Obi-Wan never actually tried to tell him like, hey, like, what are you doing? He was just like kind of arguing with him for 2 seconds, and then they just fought each other to the death.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That was it.
um,
So he never said, come back to me, Anakin. I believe there's good in you. Even Padme had
yeah,
said, there's still good in him. I know it, but he never
yeah.
said to Anakin, hey, come on. We all believe in you, buddy.
Did you ever pitch this to George at all or talk to George?
Nope. Because George was out of it by then because Disney,
Yeah, yeah,
Disney bought Lucasfilm.
yeah.
So no, he wasn't a part of it.
I always wonder how involved he is with this stuff, or if he's just completely out of it.
Yeah, it was not involved in Obi-Wan. He was partially involved in Solo because he was the one who had started that.
Yeah.
He
Okay. Interesting.
yeah, he had brought that to Larry Kasdan,
Yeah.
who's like my mentor. I've actually his wife has known my wife forever, and so I've always come to him for advice and everything. So
Gosh, that's so cool, man.
I know, yeah, the greatest, yeah, yeah. And then he came to me for advice one day about he had his first ever writing assignment, after he's been in the business for 30 years. And he's
Yeah.
like, so how does this work? And I was like, you bastard, you've had this whole career without doing a writing assignment. Anyway, he is a lovely man, an incredible writer. So anyway, so George had gone to Larry and said, "Hey, let's do a movie. Pick anything." And Larry had picked Han Solo, and so that's why Lucasfilm made the Han Solo film, because it was already in development when they bought it
Yeah.
um, from George. And then Rogue One was John Dykstra had a great idea for this. He called it a little heist movie at the time,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that became Rogue One.
No,
But that,
I liked Rogue One.
yeah, great
Solo,
film.
it seems like I had people had a lot of issues with it, but I didn't really see any issue with it other than the fact that it was just Solo, so it's not like Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader or something where, the
Yeah,
masses are going to go and watch, but it was a fun tale. I don't know. There
yeah.
was no real
No,
issue with it.
it gets very unfairly maligned.
Yeah,
It's a great movie. I don't know, maybe people's expectations were too high. Maybe it came too close on the heels of Last Jedi.
I think so.
You know,
I think people were just pissed off and
who knows? Maybe it's just one of those characters that's impossible to see anyone but Harrison. Who knows? You know?
possibly, yeah. So with Kenobi, what happened with, I mean, I remember back in was it maybe even six something years ago or whatever, there was that interview with Ewan and Collider, and he was talking about how Obi-Wan was going to be maybe a trilogy and a movie
Yeah.
and your idea. And then eventually it there was silence for years and then turned into this show, which I didn't really resonate with. I mean, there were some cool moments that, but of course, when you have Ewan and Hayden on screen or Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, I mean, how could there not be, right?
Right.
You get those even with fan films. But um, I looked at your treatment that was leaked online or whatever happened with that. Is that real? How Cody was supposed to come in there and
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah,
oh my
yeah.
gosh, yeah,
Yeah, so look, my galaxy, it's my fault. I trained the guy, so it's guilt, 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 guilt. But I've got this secret weapon. I've got this baby. This is the new hope.
yeah,
And
yeah,
this
yeah,
this baby can make everything right. This
yeah,
baby can fix everything I've messed up.
yeah,
So he's putting all of his guilt onto this baby.
yeah,
It's a recipe for disaster, right? But
yeah,
that's his plan. That's his. I'm not saying he was thinking clearly. He clearly wasn't.
right,
Who would be?
yeah,
So look, but he's like like I said, Clone Wars General Jedi Master. He doesn't know the first thing about a baby.
oh,
So okay, I'll take it to the uncle and aunt, and they can
yeah,
do the baby stuff,
yeah,
and I'll just stay. I was like, there's no way he would leave. He would
yeah,
right there. He's like, no, I'm moving in with you, and I'm gonna watch over this kid, and because he is the new hope. He is everything. It's the only way this gets fixed.
right,
So he moved in with the Lars, and he was just making sure nothing bad happened to the kid. And as per the Jedi training, at 4 years old, the deal is I take him. You've done the diaper things. He's out of diapers. He can feed, and I can talk to him. I'll take him at 4. You'll never see us again, and
yeah,
we'll go off and I'll train him. He'll become the greatest Jedi Knight, son of Anakin Skywalker, and we'll fix everything. We'll take down the Emperor, Darth,
yeah,
everyone.
yeah,
Absolve me of my guilt.
yes,
Fucked up plan, right?
yes, yeah,
But that's his plan. So in my film, Luke is 4, and he's
yeah,
like right on the edge of almost there. Obi-Wan's about to
yeah,
take him away. And the main problem for Obi-Wan at the beginning is he's lost his connection to the Force, and he doesn't know why. So
yeah,
when we first met him, he's just trying to pick up his lightsaber from across the room, and it won't work.
yeah,
So I thought that was a really interesting way to just take away Superman's powers, right? He's a Jedi. What is a Jedi without their connection to the Force?
right,
And so a big part of the journey for him in my film, in that first film, was finding his connection back to the Force, figuring out why he's lost it and what he has to do to get it back.
mhm,
And the answer to that was you have to let go. You have to surrender to the will of the Force. You're trying to force the will of the Force,
yes, right,
with your crazy plan. You've
yeah,
got to get back, and you've got to let things be, and you've got to let the Force come to you. And so, because I always figured the hardest thing
wow,
for a general to do is surrender, right? It's the hardest thing to do. And that's what he's got to learn to do. He's got to surrender to the will of the Force and get to that place where he can leave at the end and go, Luke, you be a kid. I'm going to leave. I'll keep an eye on you, but I'm going to let you be a kid. And so that, because it just made no sense to me that he would do that on his own. It had to be this massive story there that got him to that place. So that was his whole journey. And you can see in the show they get to that place, but I don't feel like they really earned it, because it wasn't really about him in the end. This my story was all about his discovery of what he's doing is wrong, and realizing it's wrong, and then learning I've got to do something else, and
Yeah.
that was done to him. He ended up, well, it'll get complex, but yeah, the idea was
Get
that once he
complex, man. I could take it. Get complex.
well, when he, yeah, just to quickly fill in the gaps,
Yeah.
what changes everything, the inciting incident of the movie was the Empire arriving on Tatooine.
Yeah.
And Empire has been spreading,
Yeah.
and it's only 4 years into the Empire, right?
Yeah.
So finally reached Tatooine,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, Empire's here, Luke's full, we got to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so Cody, I'd left the story of how they reconnected to someone else to do,
Yeah.
in a comic or something like that. So the idea was Cody's taking the chip out, and Cody is now, oh my God, guilt as well, right? I'm so sorry for trying to kill you. I am here, ride or die for you. I will do anything you want. So Cody is like his eyes and ears on the ground in Mos Eisley. And so Cody contacts him, says, hey, the Empire's here. We've got to get out. And then, of course, they've got a plan to get out. So anyway, when Obi-Wan eventually leaves Tatooine, everything goes wrong, and he ends up not where he's supposed to be. He ends up on this massive kind of space station, which is like a transportation hub. So, the only space station we've already seen in Star Wars really is the Death Star, right? So just, okay, well, what's a transportation hub look like? People from all over the galaxy coming and going. And so he falls in with this group of refugees there called the Karoo. And they're being kept there by this corrupt administrator of the station. And so he falls in with them, and they need his help, basically. But they have their own connection to the Force, which they call something else completely. But we know what it really is. It's the Force,
Yeah.
But
Right.
so they kind of teach him, you're trying to force your will onto this kid, and it's going to end badly. And we see flashes of that on Tatooine before he leaves. We see flashes of darkness in Luke. When Obi-Wan's trying to get him to kind of, come on, Luke, use the Force, use the Force. You saw little flashes of darkness.
No, really? How? Like
Oh
what?
yeah, yeah.
Like how are you going to portray that?
Well, there was a ball, a very simple thing, right? 4-year-old playing a ball, rolling a
Yeah.
ball
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
and forth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then Obi-Wan held and we would say, take it. And Luke would come up, start walking. He's like, no, stay there. Take the ball.
Yeah.
And Luke would be reaching, take the ball, take the ball, take the ball, Luke. And then the ball just flies out, all of a sudden goes haywire all over the place. And it's like, whoa, what the hell was that? But like this real flash of like, whoa, and this little look in this kid that's angry, you know.
Oh my
So
God.
so the idea was, and Obi-Wan, other things happened, and so he forgot about that. But yeah, he gets reminded of that while he's with the Karoo, and he actually they take him to a place in their starship where they connect most powerfully with the Force, and he has this vision, and in the vision he's on Mustafar, and he sees, the dark figure in the cloak with the red lightsaber, and it's Anakin. I was like, oh my God, I'm here fighting Anakin. And they come together, and the guy pulls off his hood. It's not Anakin, it's Mark Hamill at 19, and it's holy shit. And Luke's turned to the dark side, and he's got to fight Luke in the dark side. And getting out of that is what makes him realize, holy shit, this is the path we're going down. I'm going to turn this kid into a Sith if I keep this up. And so I've got to get out of here, B, get back to Tatooine, C, secure him from Darth Vader and Reva, make them think I'm dead, all this kind of stuff. And it led to this really great third act where surrendering to this all was what allowed him to kind of reconnect to the Force in this great kind of Superman 2 moment,
Yeah.
then Superman 2 when he crushes Zod's hand,
Yes. 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 Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
gets his powers back because he has learned to surrender. And that's what allows him to escape and get away at the end of the day. And the big thing with Reva was she was the one that ends up going back to Vader and saying, Kenobi's dead, I killed him. And in a fit of rage, Vader kills Reva. But she dies securing Kenobi's secret that he's still alive. But that's what allows Vader to kind of let Kenobi go. Because when we see him in New Hope, he's let that go. It's not till he gets that feeling. He's like, hang on, what's
Yeah.
that? It's something I haven't felt since, And it's like, hang on, So it's the idea that, he also needs to, you know, let go. And at the beginning of my film, he is absolutely crazy obsessed with finding and hunting and killing Kenobi. That's all he cares about. And the Emperor's railing on him, like, you gotta let the shit go, man. That's Anakin. You're
Yeah.
Vader now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like, I'll let him go when he's dead,
Yeah.
So the whole thing for him was the hunt. And we had this really great opening sequence where Vader took on I think 5 Jedis at once and just slaughtered them all. And it's like, because I figured Vader's like 26, height of his powers. And,
Oh,
it was just an awesome, awesome sequence where he was taking on these 5 Jedi at once. And you got to see how just truly terrifying this villain is. And that's and then of course you cut to Kenobi and Kenobi has no powers. And you're like, oh man, Kenobi's screwed. He is
yeah.
screwed. So
It's almost like an Ivan Drago and Rocky sort of
yeah,
moment where it's yeah,
exactly. Exactly. If Rocky, had lost his fists,
lost. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's just how is he ever going to win? And so it just set up this really great confrontation that ended up happening on that space station. And that space station, there's a bunch of stuff that happens, but basically that space station was falling apart and everyone was fleeing off it. And so it was just that fight happened on a space station that was falling into a gas giant planet. And they were the last two on the station fighting it out, basically. And
So
so
there's the concept of time there too, where it's thing impending doom
yeah,
almost.
for both of them, yeah. And it really got to a point where Vader won that battle, and that was the point, because I that's the other thing I didn't buy about the show was that Kenobi would defeat Vader and leave him alive.
Yeah.
No,
No.
so it was no Kenobi lost. He had no force powers, Vader beat him, but they had that pivotal moment of Kenobi saying, "Stop this, Anakin." Slashed the helmet open, saw the eyes, said, "I know it's you. I know you're in there. Stop this. I believe there's still good on you." Padme said it. I believe it. It's just, and that was again the whole point of it was to get to that moment where Kenobi showed that he still believed in Anakin, despite everything, still believed in Anakin. And it was really that moment when then Anakin said, "No, there's no Anakin here. I'm just Darth." That's what made the switch in Kenobi's head. Anakin is dead. I did kill him, and this new guy. Well, I didn't kill him. Darth Vader killed him,
Yeah.
basically, which is of course what he tells Luke, because
Yeah.
I believe he believed that.
From a certain point of
He
view.
told
Yeah.
Luke. Yeah, exactly.
My God.
And that's
And
where
also
that.
and all during this you would have, I guess, like swipe scenes where you go back to Tatooine and Cody's getting into some mischief or
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
something.
Yeah, well, that was a fun B plot. I figured, they have to basically, they get found by bounty hunters on Tatooine, and so they've,
My God.
yeah, they've got this. The bounty hunters, of course, working for the Empire, looking for Jedi, and they get found out, and so it's like we've got to race to like stop this bounty hunter from getting back to Mos Eisley. So this is great speeder chase because you've never seen a speeder chase, right? You know,
Well, we saw one in Boba Fett, right?
oh yeah, right, yeah, right. So it was this great chase back to Mos Eisley, but the guy gets a photo of Kenobi, and it's like, we got him, but he got the photo out, and so now you're screwed. The Empire's coming, and it's so they've got their fail safe, in event of emergency plan, and the plan is Obi-Wan leaves the planet and Cody stays behind and looks after Luke because he wants someone there
Yeah, yeah,
looking.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Someone you could trust.
so
Yeah.
so Cody, yeah, so Cody was a fun B plot. Which was really just kind of getting rid of the bodies and taking them out to the Sarlacc pit and dumping the bodies in the
Oh
Sarlacc,
my God.
because that's what you do, right? And
It's
so
Tatooine. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
you got a body you need to get rid of, some
yeah,
stormtrooper bodies, you just
yeah.
go to the Sarlacc pit, right? And so that was the gag that the Cody and Owen take the bounty hunter bodies out to the local Sarlacc pit. And there's someone else there dumping stormtrooper bodies. They're like, for a second, I'm like, no, we're all on the same side. And
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
they just keep dumping the bodies. And then this really big speeder rolls up, and this really drunk little Jawa rolls out of it, and opens the back, and there's a gigantic alien that this little bad Jawa has killed, and the bad Jawa tosses the big alien into the Sarlacc.
That
It's just a little
dude.
fun. It was just a
Yeah,
little fun
yeah, yeah, yeah,
backstory. And so
yeah.
basically, yeah, Cody was keeping an eye on Luke while Obi-Wan was away dealing with all this. And so when they came back in the end, yeah, he was, keeping an eye on him. So it was like a B plot in the film.
Yeah, this is absolutely incredible. I don't know how they got went from that to what we got. I don't understand what happened, and I'd love to hear about if you want to talk about how did they get rid of you? Like why were you no longer a part of it? And they
Um,
hired, these other professionals, and I don't I use that term loosely in this sense, but that's just
yeah.
my opinion.
Look, it was more the simple answer is that it was really just a change in corporate strategy, as bland as that sounds. But when Solo didn't perform as they were hoping it would, they thought, all right, that's it. No more films showing characters that are going to survive because they're in later movies. That's what they felt like. Audiences don't care. They don't care to show up, and so unfortunately, we got kind of painted with that brush, and just it killed it. So the director left, and the whole thing got shut down. And then it wasn't until like a year or so later that they were like, "Hey, let's do it as a show." And and so they pulled out my script, and then hired some people to turn that into a 6 episode show. Yeah, but I wasn't involved by that stage. I was doing other things.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, both as someone who's talking to you and as a fan of Star Wars, because I would have loved to have seen your iteration of that. I think it would have been everything fans wanted to see. I think it would
Yeah,
have just
look, I
a better
mean,
story.
I'm a fan, and that's what I wanted to see.
Yeah,
That's what you can do at the end of the day is do
yeah,
what you want to see,
yeah,
But look, I believe you have to be a fan, first and foremost. It can't just be something you like or something you're interested in or something is popular. It has to be something that you live and die with. And I think the best, Star Wars comes from that. It comes from anything, and you know, anything, any project, any film, any TV show, you've just got to have that passion to really, be an authority on the world and on the characters. And,
yeah.
that's how you become an author, you become an authority, you know?
Yeah, no, I fully agree, and I unfortunately feel like they were hiring just the wrong people for the job for Star Wars, because it's not like a typical, hey, we have a Hollywood script here, let's get someone that's like an A-list director or writer or something like that, and have them work on
Yeah.
this. You have to really kind of grow up with this franchise and know about it, and I'd say even in some sense have it save your life in some way or
Yeah.
another, where
Yeah.
you care about these characters and you kind
You
of
do.
get them.
Yeah.
And you being
And
friends with Lawrence Kasdan and his relationship with George, I kind of feel like you have that outline of when you're writing Star Wars, like, okay, would George want this for these characters? And I just don't feel like that's something that's happening today with
yeah.
the stuff they're creating, unfortunately.
Yeah. I asked Larry about that. I was like, what is it? What defines a Star Wars movie? He's like, it's one word and it's delight.
Mm.
Like that's what a Star Wars movie. It's delightful in all its different forms. It's delightful. You walk out delighted. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
and that's certainly what that original trilogy was for me. I just was delighted.
yeah.
It really was. Watching those films, all those great moments and everything, just fantastic. Yeah,
You
um,
didn't see those in theaters.
yeah,
You're not.
yeah. I saw them all in theaters. Yep. Yep. 70,
Yeah.
Star Wars was 77, 78, 78. I was in Australia at the time. So I think we got it like 6 months later than everyone else. But yeah, they were, my 10th birthday party, I think was Empire Strikes Back. Took a whole bunch of my friends to go see it.
Oh, what the
Uh,
heck? Hey,
Jedi,
you look good, man.
yeah. So yeah, like I tell you, it was my life. So
Yeah.
yes, I knew the character, I knew the world, and I think most importantly, I had a story to tell. And I think that's the other crucial factor is you've got to have a story to tell. And
Hmm.
I believed wholeheartedly in the story I had to tell, the evolutions of Obi-Wan to Ben,
Yeah.
you know, and that's the story I pitched. That's the story I wrote. That's the story we were going to make. And then,
No, that's a brilliant story. I think that would have been. I think Star Wars would be in a different place because of your trilogy for that. But unfortunately, I feel like now it's kind of about money, and I feel like the people that are involved they're just more so. analytics guys, and they think
Mm.
they know, what'll make money, but it's not.
Yeah, you can never be driven by money, can you? It's like I say, it's about the story, you know. I've got this burning desire to tell this story. Happens to be about, one of your characters in the Star Wars world. Here's the
Yeah.
story. Here's why I'm so passionate about it. I think that's all you can do, and then just hope other people, dig it.
Well, I hope they bring you back, man, because I think you're the most insightful writer I've spoken to regarding
Oh,
Star
thank
Wars.
you.
So
I
yeah,
would love to, man. I would love to do a season two of Obi-Wan and dig into um, the second evolution, his character, because
geez, where would we take it from here? That's the thing. It's kind of it's like The Force Awakens. They've kind of locked you in. Where do you take it from there? There aren't really too many avenues.
well,
Um,
I mean, I for me, that first evolution was surrender, right? You got to
yeah,
learn to let go, stop, stop trying to impose your will on this 4-year-old kid
yeah,
as savior of all your screw ups, you know.
yeah.
Um, so that to me was one evolution. I think the next big evolution to me is that surrendering, not surrendering, but like accepting. I don't even know accepting. Understanding that you have to die.
Hmm.
You have to die for the greater good.
Hmm.
Like you're going to have this pivotal moment there where you are going to have to die,
Yeah,
sacrifice yourself. Because I think that's also something that a soldier, you know, doesn't want to do because they want to be in the fight. That's
yeah,
where they feel most useful. They feel, they can contribute the most. So understanding that no, there's going to come a point where the biggest thing you can do for the fight is die. And that's, because he makes that decision in a heartbeat, it seems,
mhm.
in A New Hope. And I just think that no one comes to that quickly, especially a guy like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
So I would love to tell a story that examines his unwillingness to accept that fact and that getting to that place of, oh, I understand now. I understand that I'm going to have to do this at some point. I don't know when,
Yeah,
but I'm going to recognize the moment when I see it so
yeah.
that when it happens, I can be totally, at calm, at peace with it. That I think is the next big evolution for him.
What would you want to do with Star Wars going forwards? Like, let's say they call you up and they're like, hey, anything's on the table, Old
Oh,
Republic,
anything?
whatever. Yeah.
Oh, I would uh goodness. I think Darth Revan has an interesting story, really interesting story to tell, and the whole, getting to the rule of two.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a really great story to tell. I'd love to dig into that. Um, uh, I haven't really thought about it much since. um, yeah, I know I'd stay away from obviously the Skywalker saga and all of that.
Yeah, it's a little overdone now.
Yeah, yeah. If there was another show to consider, then I'd think about that. I don't know what it would be about though, but it wouldn't. I think Quinlan Vos has a fantastic story.
Yeah.
He's, the guy who kind of really skirts the dark and the light more than
Yeah.
anyone else. I think
Well,
he's a
because they put him
character.
in the show, so was he in your movie too?
Nope, no, stayed
Mm.
away from him. Because I think they were still, I think they were doing Dark Disciple at the time.
Mm.
Um, I'm not sure, but if you do Quinlan, you got to do Asajj, and so it's a whole
That's another than Dooku and all. Yeah, yeah,
another whole thing. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, it was a can of worms I couldn't get into.
Yeah.
It's enough to get Cody back in there, and Darth Vader and the Emperor.
Oh, dude, that would have been.
But like, look, for instance, like this is where I say you got to know the world, right? Um, when I had this great scene with Darth and the Emperor, they're talking by a hologram, and the Emperor basically is like, you got to let him go, you got to let this, and it's like, and let's not forget it's your mistake that he's still alive. You should,
Yeah, yeah,
he's,
yeah.
he's the the greatest threat in the galaxy, and
Right,
you
right.
should have finished him off when you had
Yeah,
the chance. And Darth Vader's like, yeah, what about you and Yoda?
yeah,
Basically, I'd say Yoda's more of a threat.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
the Emperor's like,
Like, you little shit.
place,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they both let, they both those two failed. They let the biggest two threats in the
Yeah.
galaxy go.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought that was an interesting thing. But you've really got to know your world, to
Yeah.
make plans like that. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I thought there was a moment in the Kenobi show where I was like, you just don't get the world. And it was that moment where
No.
they were interrogating Leia, and they're like, "Where are the rebels? Where are the rebels?" And I was like, "How could she not say Dantooine?
Yeah.
How could she not say that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like and you realize, oh, that's her go-to thing. She's been telling the Empire this for 20 years
Yeah.
that the rebels are on Dantooine,
Yeah.
which would have been great. But yeah, that just felt like,
Wow.
that's missed opportunity.
The
And
whole show, it didn't feel like Kenobi to me. It felt like Kenobi was just like a co-star kind of. It was more so about Reva and Leia, and there were just
right.
a lot of comical things in there. And I just it sucks to have, your two favorite characters, and then you just think the show is just kind of garbage because it's just the vision wasn't, I don't think, was there.
Mm.
And I can see from your script they tried to pull on some things, but they just couldn't land it, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate. But
Yeah.
I don't
It
know.
happened.
I don't know what's going on, man. It just seems like, they're just making some wrong decisions, or decisions they could make better. And I think it all comes down to the writing. They need to hire people like yourself and passionate people to really understand the story, because that ain't happening. I don't know if you saw some of the other projects they made, but it hasn't gotten any better, really, in my opinion, at least.
Mm.
So hopefully it'll improve.
Hopefully. Yeah. I know we all want it
Yeah,
to.
it would be nice, to be excited for Star Wars again. But
Yeah.
anyways, I feel like I've kind of talked enough about Kenobi. What else are you working on these days?
Oh, lots of stuff. I just finished doing the Air Supply biopic. Do you know Air Supply?
No.
Air
What's this?
Supply is this great Australian band from the 80s. Every love ballad, All Out of Love, Making
Huh.
Love Out of Nothing at All,
Oh,
The One That You Love, all these
okay.
great love ballads. There's a couple of one Australian guy and an English guy, but they met in
Okay.
Melbourne.
Huh.
And yeah, I'm very excited for that one to get made. I've been an Air Supply fan all my life. So
Cool.
uh, something completely different, like a music biopic, but it's like an anti-music biopic because these two guys, never had a fight, never split up, never did drugs, never, did all the things normal music
Yeah, yeah.
will do,
Yeah.
that you normally see. They just, they were just underdogs that just struggled for many years until they became a success. And they're still best friends. They're the two loveliest guys you'll ever meet. And it's just a wonderful, it's a sweet, sweet story. One of the first scripts I've written in a while where nobody dies. So that was fun.
That's good. That's a nice story, because usually,
Yeah, it's a
rock
lovely
stars,
story. Yeah,
they,
stories put a smile
yeah,
on your face.
yeah, they start out wholesome, and then, all the money and fame comes in, and it changes people.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, so
Any movies or anything
yeah,
besides that?
Um, there's a film called First Warrior about the indigenous wars with the first
Oh,
colony of British the colonists down in the 1780s, 1790s. That we got a good cast together for that and a good director and yeah, really really excited for that one. Hopefully that'll get shooting next year.
that's cool.
That's like an Australian Braveheart kind of a film.
Yeah.
I
Is that
love
where you're at right now? You're in Australia?
No, no, I'm in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Just working away, doing just yeah, working on other films, film and television.
Yeah.
Um, just yeah, telling stories. I love telling stories. That's why I was so excited to tell Obi-Wan's story. Because I just thought, wow, that's a full circle moment for me.
What
Being able,
was that a bit of a gut punch when, you weren't involved in the show?
yeah, devastating, devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's like your baby and you're handing it off to someone else to raise.
And they don't.
That's why I would have raised it. Yeah.
It would have been better in a foster home, man. Jeez, that was yeah. I don't know, dude. I don't I yeah. I mean, I'm trying to keep it as professional as I can, but at the same time, I'm just like, what the fuck are they doing? It's just I can't believe that they would take the script you had and just give us that. What is this? What the hell? It pisses me off. I don't
Well,
know.
I
As a Star
thought,
Wars fan, I could just I what are they doing? It would have
yeah,
been so free. I mean, I'm even just sold on the Cody Sarlacc pit thing. Like I think that would have been like I don't know, dude. It's can you pitch them another idea? Like how does it work? You just drive up there and be like, hey,
no, like all the people that I work with, they've all left now.
okay,
So I don't know anyone who's up there right now. So I wouldn't. I don't know. Look, I think if I had another story to tell, I don't know that they're interested in doing another Obi-Wan season.
no,
Uh,
apparently they're not.
if they are, I would throw myself into that for sure. But as far as doing another a different story, I would have to, put real thought and energy into what that would be before I would, call them up and see what they're interested in. But I feel like they're in a period where they're just trying to figure out what they're doing
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now. So
yeah. It's a long period.
yeah, I'm not sure how they'd even respond to, someone coming up with hey, I've got a movie, not sure.
Well, they're working on the Dawn of the Jedi next. It's supposed to be like a with James Mangold. That's supposed to be kind of the first Jedi, essentially.
Yeah, okay.
Which hopefully it's good because
Yep.
there's a definitely a story there
Yep.
in Legends and comics and stuff. But I don't know. We'll see what they create. Maybe if they stay true to that or they deviate and make their own thing. Not really
Well,
sure.
James is a great storyteller. I did a film with him called 310 to Yuma. Um,
You did that?
yeah, it's fun. Yeah, well, wrote every word of it, but got no credit. Yeah, yeah, I got
How, do,
screwed in arbitration for that one.
how does that work?
Well, the way the Writers Guild arbitrates, the way they decide credit is they send it to like three writers, and they all get together and decide what the credit should be. And then there are various rules that those arbiters have to follow. And I that one was like a perfect storm of arbitration rules that just kept screwing me, which yeah, it just was really, really devastating. And it's why I actually do arbitrations now. I do a lot of them because I don't want to have what happened to me happen to other writers, because it was,
Yeah.
a half of blood, sweat, and tears, and your name's not anywhere even on the film, you know. Um, so yeah, it just yeah, that was that really
Surprised that
sucked.
can
But
even
anyway,
happen.
working with Jim was great, and yeah, he's obviously an amazing storyteller. So hopefully he knocks it out of the park.
And the more I talk to, like, I don't know if you know who Steve Odekirk is.
Yeah,
He,
sure.
oh yeah, I was just texting him yesterday. He's a close friend of
Oh,
mine, and
oh,
he
fantastic.
also tells me about some of the dark sides of Hollywood and stuff like that, and things that happen to writers and directors, and
Yep.
someone from the outside that's just watches movies, you never would think, but you start to learn, and you're like, what the heck? This is kind of
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. Yeah. You work in this business long enough, everyone's got stories.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I've had hour-long conversations with him and of just things that he's gone through with all the stuff and it's people at the end of the day, I guess, people in power and
Yep.
everyone has their own vision and they want to see that and I think sometimes they don't focus on what's best for the project.
Right.
Instead, there's just more ego and bullshit in there. So,
Yep. Yep. And it happens to everyone, it's well, maybe not everyone, maybe there's like two or three people it doesn't happen to, but everyone else has to deal with all that, yeah.
yeah, fight
And try
over.
and try and make movies and TV shows, try and tell stories in spite of all that. That's the struggle.
How did it
Try
get like
to
this?
tell
Is
great
is it
stories.
is it has it always been this
Yeah, always. You go back and
animalistic?
read Adventures in the Screen Trade by William Goldman. You'll see it's the same thing. It's just doesn't change. Hey, um, yeah, it just the road to hell is paved with good intentions. It's a great comic I've seen of these two producers sitting at a bar, drowning their sorrows, and one says to the other, it was a brilliant idea. It was a great script. It was a good director. It was an okay cast. It was, a panicked pre-production, a troubled production. It was a disastrous post, a god-awful marketing campaign, and the absolute worst day to release it. you know,
God.
it just you
Yeah,
just
just
see how it just goes downhill
just
from
absolute
there.
garbage. Yeah.
Yeah, it starts with a brilliant idea. Like everyone's got the best of intentions, but for various reasons, and they're always different. Yeah, things just don't go as planned.
It's too corporate, man. I feel like that's why George was just so successful because it was just him.
It's just him. He was making the most expensive independent movies ever made.
You got a few more minutes?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
What would you? So I've been writing a, I've been making a fan film for Star Wars, where Mace Windu comes back and Vader has to fight him.
Cool.
What do you think of a situation like that? Where would you take that scenario? What would be their motive in your mind, um, for each of them? Pretty
Um,
much after Revenge of the Sith, so it'd be kind of like the Kenobi show, but it's it's Mace Windu, and there's some twists and turns that I wrote in there, and we're currently in development, but I always like to get a professional's point of view.
how long after Sith is it?
Oh, it's like 8 months.
8 months. Okay.
So it's very a lot of Anakin still in there,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
and they meet up at Padme's tomb on Naboo,
Okay.
and he has about 10 to 15 Jedi with him, and um, essentially this is like the story where he can kind of turn the tide and destroy the Empire and destroy Vader and all that. But you know, Vader wants to learn how he survived. You died. I saw you die.
Well, I'll tell you
So
the one thing I wouldn't believe him doing, Mace Windu. I would not believe him talking. Um, Being that he's gone through, he went to arrest the emperor,
mhm.
gave him that chance of, I've come to arrest you, put your hands up.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
not going to do that ever again.
no,
He's going to go back to the Django Fett thing. Just cut the guy's head off. Just don't
yeah,
even talk. Just cut the guy's head off.
yeah,
So if you're going to draw Mace into a conversation with Anakin, it's got to be in the middle of a fight, after a fight, or when Mace is basically done. If you end up going that way, I would never believe Mace coming up with the team of Jedi say you're under arrest, Anakin, and them having a conversation, because
yeah,
after what Mace has been through, he's never going to do that again.
yeah,
He's just going to assassinate him.
yeah,
Um, and I think then that would raise a really interesting dilemma for Mace, because as a like, I'm going to the dark side and I don't care.
yeah,
Don't care. I
yeah,
do not care anymore. Look, we're in the dark side.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and that would be a really interesting, I think, way to take that character, a guy who has always been good and always been about the force and the balance of the force and everything, and have him go dark, you know,
yeah,
justifiably so,
yeah,
and then yeah, either get to a place where he finds his way back to the light or dies in darkness.
yeah, yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah, good luck with that. That sounds cool.
Nick Gillard.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's choreographing
Oh,
the
fantastic.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
very
Okay,
close friend of
great.
mine. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, fantastic.
yeah. So
Okay.
I'm excited to see where that goes with that because there's like Vader against 10 Jedi at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
That's some choreography.
Is
Uh,
Sindralic gonna be one of them or not?
no, Cinderella's dead. But we have a mention. So
Okay.
yeah, it'll be
That,
fun. Um, anyways, I don't want to take any more of your time. I could talk to you for hours, but anytime I'm in LA, I'll shoot you a message if you're available. We could grab a bite or something. Let me
sure.
know if you have time.
Anytime, mate.
Um, but yeah, thank you so much, man. I really
Yeah, sure
appreciate it.
thing. No
Let
worries.
me stop recording here and then I can say goodbye to you properly. Okay, everyone, I'll see you later.